Hey everyone. So I wanted to do a video about my big three that I'll be bringing on my through hike. For those that don't know, the big three includes your pack, your sleep system, and your shelter. So those three things are obviously necessary for most, if not all, backpacking trips. And obviously it's definitely required for an Appalachian Trail through hike. So without further ado, we'll get right into it. I don't plan on changing this setup for the big three before I leave. There are some changes I'm going to make to what I have so far for my overall pack, but I'll do a pack explosion video at some point before I leave where I go over everything once that's nailed down. But yeah, I'll go grab my pack and we'll get right into it. Alright, so here's my pack. I'll give you a little view of it. So this pack is the Gossamer Gear Gorilla 40. Obviously, as the name implies, it's a 40-liter pack. It does have an internal frame. It is removable, but I do plan on using it on my hike. You probably may not be able to see it very well, but there it is there. It's pretty sturdy, pretty lightweight. It's got one inside pocket, so it's pretty simple. One clip here to kind of close the roll top lid, and then you roll it down, and it has clips here. It does have sort of like a brain pocket, but it's not an actual like big brain. It's just a pocket on the top here. And then we have the mesh outside. It seems very durable. I've used it on a few day hikes. I haven't got out with an overnight for it yet, but I do plan on doing that before I leave. Really nice big side pockets for water bottles with elastic band on it. I've already tested it a few times. I can reach right back, grab water, put it back in very easily without taking off or loosening my pack or anything. I did add on these little bungee cord add-ons for holding my trekking poles or anything else that I want to tie up. I've used them for snowshoes. They work great. Straps are nice and padded. The hip straps are nice and padded as well. This is the large hip belt and the medium size pack. You're supposed to measure yourself before you order. I actually ordered a large to begin with, found out it was too big, and then returned it with no problem and got the medium. So it has these small compression straps like you would expect on most backpacks. Nice hip belt pockets on both sides, nice and big. It weighs in at 31.6 ounces, so just under 2 pounds. I think that's all I got to say about this. But yeah, so far I really like it. Can't wait to use it. I'll probably do a post-hike review of everything, especially the big stuff. But yeah, get into my sleep system next. Okay, so for sleep system, I'll be using a hammock, specifically the Warbonnet Blackbird. It's the original one. There's a slightly larger one if you're over 6 feet tall. I think they recommend that one. There's also a heavier weight fabric one. I have the 40 denier nylon version. I think the weight capacity on that was 250, so plenty for me. The weight with all the hardware to hang the hammock, not including the tarp or guy lines or anything, stakes, but including tree straps, whoopee slings. The weight for that all together is 21.5 ounces. So there's definitely a weight penalty for using a hammock, but I find the comfort is a lot better than the tent. I will be carrying a sleeping pad through the Smokies at least. But other than that, I don't really plan on spending too much time in shelters, I don't think, unless it gets real crazy with storms. But then I probably wouldn't have a sleeping pad on me either, so probably wouldn't do it then. I do have some footage of this fully set up in my backyard that I'll add onto this video, but this is just the end of it, showing it's just a gathered end hammock. It's got a bug net integrated with it. Integrated ridge line as well. I have whoopee slings attached, and for straps I just have regular webbing with the Warbonnet. These are pretty lightweight, the climbing grade carabiners, which you need to clip on to support yourself. But yeah, I'll show you my tarp next. Yeah, and obviously since I'm using a hammock, I'm going to need a tarp. There's a lot of rain on the AT, as I'm sure everybody knows, so you got to be ready for it. For a tarp, I'm using the Warbonnet Mini Fly. It's their smallest hex tarp, I think, that still has the doors on the end. And again, there's not much to see right here, but I do have some footage of this setup and some footage of me out testing it in the rain as well. But yeah, I guess what I just wanted to show is it's got these D-rings at all the connect points, so it's super easy to rig. It's the 20 denier sil poly, so it's not going to stretch when it gets wet. It reflects water like really nicely. I was out in the pouring rain the other night testing it out, and just to dry it off, pretty much just woke up, shook it off. It was for the most part dry. Brought it inside. Within 10 minutes, it was completely dry. So that was really nice. For cordage for the tarp, I'm using Dyneema line. I probably should have got something like reflective, but this one's just gray, so hopefully I don't lose it. But one end has a bowline knot, which is just a closed loop. And what I do is I loop it around whatever I'm tying onto, put this tarp tick, which I'll probably get another close-up and show how it's used. But anyway, this is used and secured on the other end with just a little overhand knot. And this makes it super easy to tension and tie it off without actually tying a knot. But yeah, I'll do a little close-up, hopefully those later. I don't like using sleeping pads in my hammock, so I got an underquilt to use. This is the Warbonnet 20 degree Yeti. It's a 3/4 underquilt, which means it doesn't go all the way to your feet. And actually there's something I forgot to show on the backpack. Let me go grab that. So here's the underquilt. You can see if you put it up to your head, it just goes down to your knees. And what I forgot to show on the backpack is the back is this foam material, and it's actually removable. So it doubles as a sit pad, and also I can throw it in the bottom of my top quilt, so it'll protect or insulate my calves all the way to my feet. So it lets you get away with a smaller, lighter underquilt. So this underquilt is 20 denier nylon. It weighs 12.5 ounces, which, funny enough, is exactly the same weight as my sleeping pad that I have. It's down, it's 20 degrees. It's just super easy to set up. It just goes over the gathered knots on the hammock with this bungee cord. And because it's the Warbonnet one, it's actually made for the asymmetric hammock, which is how the Warbonnet is set up. And that asymmetric just is more conducive to a flat lay for anyone that's not familiar with hammocks. Last but not least is possibly my favorite part of my big three. I love this thing. It's so cozy. It's the Hammock Gear Burrow, the premium burrow. It's down underquilt. It's a 20 degree. You have the choice between a sewn footbox and a zipper footbox. I chose the zipper one just because I wanted to be able to unzip it and then unsnap it. And there's also a cinch here you can undo to make it just a full rectangular quilt, which is kind of nice. I got the wide version. You can get a slightly narrower one for a hammock, but there are times when I do want to go to the ground, and this will allow me to have a little more coverage on the ground. And I do kind of toss and turn. I'm a side sleeper in the hammock as well, so I find that a wide top quilt is definitely something that I really like. The top you can also cinch around your neck and snap behind your neck in case you're really cold, so it's kind of like a mummy bag almost. It doesn't have a hood, but I mean it's long enough for me that it can kind of be put over my head if it gets really cold. But yeah, the sit pad that I just showed just sits really nicely in the foot box, so you can toss and turn and it'll stay right under your feet. And again, that's why you can get away with that 3/4 length underquilt. But yeah, I got some footage of the whole setup out back, minus the pack. Um, so yeah. So I realized I forgot to mention my stakes that I'm bringing. These are titanium shepherd's hooks. This is actually one part of my big three that I'm not super confident in and haven't totally decided on. I've never actually used these particular stakes. They are nice and light. They're pretty short, which is part of what worries me. I actually tried using one in the snow, which you probably wouldn't expect them to work in snow anyway, but ended up launching it across the yard. It was a bungee cord connection. It just couldn't hold. So I'm probably going to end up just giving them a shot at first, and then if it doesn't work out by Neil's Gap, I'm sure they'll have something to sell me there as an upgrade, just something more beefier with a little more grabbing power in a wider range of soils. I'm sure this is nice when you can get away with it. Like I said, I think they're 2 to 3 grams, but might just need something more substantial for a steak. Alright, so this is a close-up on the tarp tick that I was talking about. This is a product by War Bonnet Outdoors. There's similar ones on the market from Dutchware, and I'm sure there's other companies. But basically this is used to avoid tying knots when you're tensioning your guy lines and connecting them and everything. And there's just a small weight penalty. I think each one of these weighs a gram, and I use 8 of them. But I think it's completely worth it. So what you do is you thread a line through this end. On one end of your guy line, what I do is put just an overhand knot to keep it from sliding off, because these are pretty small. So they're easy to lose. On the other end, I'm doing just a bowline knot, which creates a pretty sturdy loop. And then if you pretend this is like a stake or any stationary thing that you're going to tie to, like a tree, if you're connecting your ridgeline, you just loop it around, thread the tarp tick through this loop, and if I did this again, I think I would make the loop a little bit bigger. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze, but anyway, just cinch it down. And then, so this side for me would be like my D-ring on my tarp, or there's a little metal rung where I connect the ridgeline to the tree. So what you do is this hook on the tarp tick just hooks onto your whatever you're connecting to. Then you pull the other end of the line taut as tight as you want it. And then there's a little like half a hole here that you just double back on, and then on this side there's these little like antenna, I guess they're probably called, and you just wrap around those, and the pressure is enough to keep it tight, and then you end up with a tight connection. So one more thing I forgot to mention, and I probably won't bother showing it because later on in this video you'll see it being used when I set up my hammock. But those are the snake skins for the tarp. And what those do is just kind of keep the tarp together when it's not being used and during setup, just to keep it off the ground. So that's going to help keep it clean. I think it only weighs like 1.5 ounces. But yeah, anyway, you'll see how it's used in the video coming up.
Alright, so this is my sleep system all set up. We got the Warbonnet Blackbird hammock with the Yeti 20-degree underquilt. I'll show you that closer up in a second. For the tarp, it's a Warbonnet mini fly. It's one of their smaller tarps that still has these doors on it, so you can tighten these up. Oops. If there's wind or rain, to get a little bit more coverage, make things a little more comfortable for you. So unfortunately I had to use these shopping bags full of snow for stakes because I don't actually have snow stakes. Thinking of getting some. Haven't really done much winter backpacking, but especially hammocking, but might get into it, so we'll see. These also aren't the trekking poles I'm going to be using. These are something I use for snowshoeing. They're just a little more durable. But yeah, right now it's in porch mode. Just kind of been fooling around with different setups. But normally if there's wind or rain, you'd obviously have this side pitched down like the back for more coverage. Alright, so on the inside, the Warbonnet regular size Blackbird hammock. I got the hammock gear, burrow, 20 degree as well for a top quilt. And like I said, the Yeti 20 degree underquilt. It's a 3/4 length underquilt. I figure that'll be plenty, you know, for the summer. And then I'm also gonna have a sitting pad for my feet. And there's a little foot box in here. You probably can't see it very well, but that'll just sit right there to insulate my feet. Other than that, I don't. There's a few more pullouts that I don't have pitched right now, just because it's kind of a pain with the snow. but one is just a shelf where you can keep stuff that I'll try to show a close-up of in a minute. And the other one just pulls it out, so it kind of feels bigger inside, I guess. But yeah, I'll get inside and we'll take a look. So this is the foam mat I'm going to use for insulating my feet. And I obviously wouldn't probably be sleeping in all these clothes unless it was really cold. But yeah, just don't want to scare the neighbors. Yeah, so as far as comfort and, comfort in cold weather, I think I'm going to be fine. It's actually snowing out today, as you can see, hopefully on video. It's probably, I don't know, 22, 23 degrees out, maybe. But yeah, I'm nice and toasty in here. I wouldn't say I'm sweaty by any means. I did test this out earlier in the week when it was raining cats and dogs and like 45 degrees, which is really weird for up here. I did take some footage of that, so I'll post that probably. I don't think it warranted its own video. But yeah, I think my concern that night was actually being too warm with the two 20-degree quilts, but I mean, I figure I can probably make do with being a little too warm. I'm tempted to buy a 40-degree underquilt or top quilt or both, but that's going to be expensive. And I'm not really sure how much I would use those in New Hampshire because it does get pretty cold even in the summer. So, but yeah, we'll see. Testing my hammock that I'm going to be using on my Appalachian Trail through hike this year. Tonight I'm mostly interested in how it's going to be doing in the rain and wind. It's kind of funny, the temperature tonight's going to be up near 46, which is really unseasonably warm for us. In fact, this afternoon it's about 22 right now, so it's going to be going up overnight. Tomorrow night I'll probably try to get out again, and that time I'll probably be more interested in seeing how my quilt performs. It'll be down near 20, and I'm using a 20 degree underquilt and top quilt. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, and I'll check in periodically. Alright, it's about 11 p.m. I just went out to the hammock. We got some drizzle going on. It's about 28 degrees. Should be rising actually in temperature throughout the night, which is kind of weird. When I first got out here, there was a bunch of ice covering the tarp. I had to shake that off, but it's still dry under here, and I expect to stay dry and warm all night. I'll probably take my puffy off because that'll be more representative of how I'm going to actually sleep on the trail. But yeah, I'm sure you can't see much, but I'll give you a look around. Yeah, it looks pretty dark. I probably won't set any alarm to really check in or anything unless I happen to wake up naturally. Maybe I'll do a check-in. But I'll definitely check in the morning and let you know how things went.